Hello, everyone. Welcome to More Than a Muse podcast. My name is Sadie.
I'm Stani, and happy More Than a Muse Monday.
I am so excited to talk about what we're talking about today. Man, recession pop is just so dear to my heart, considering it is the music that we were listening to when we were in middle school.
I know it feels so nostalgic, and then at the same time, I'm like, ooh, but this is a warning.
This isn't great.
Yeah, like, oh, maybe we should not be happy that we're singing about this again, but it's just so nostalgic.
Nothing brings me more joy than a recession pop clubcore playlist with You Make Me Feel, Cobra Starship. I like it. Enrique Iglesias. DJ Got Us Fallen in Love Again.
Oh
with
my gosh.
Usher and Pitbull, which in 8th grade I said was my song. Like that was my song.
There you
also,
go.
Good Girls Go Bad is another one I loved, which is crazy. I don't know what 8th grade me thought I was doing, thinking, Good Girls Go Bad, this is my anthem. Like, you're an Aeropostale. Sit down.
Like TikTok, Womanizer.
Dynamite, Break Your Heart, Tayo Cruz.
So many. Just Dance from Lady Gaga.
And honestly, just anything Pitbull. I so unironically love Pitbull because it's just
we should.
So nostalgic, the music, and what a great man. I actually don't know that for certainty. Yeah. I hope he's a great man.
He might not be Mr. Worldwide.
I'm going to hold on to Mr. Worldwide and just hope that that's a good man. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
I will hope that for us as well. But yeah, the reason for this episode, if you're like recession pop, what the heck? I've never even heard that. The term has been reintegrating itself into the pop culture lexicon. Wow, I sound like a scientist. Because people are bringing up the fact that there's a lot of songs coming out right now that feel very 2008. Yes. And that is a sign of perhaps a return of a recession, or at least the mindset of one, but definitely like more of a pop star singing about the struggles of the people. It's not so much like Ariana Grande 7 Rings behavior. It is very much so like, I can't afford anything, not even eggs. Yeah. So the world is ending and I'm going to watch it burn.
I have seen a lot of content and memes, I guess, about recession indicators. One of them being Lady Gaga is back on the charts. Oh, that's a recession indicator. Yep. Or just funny things of being like, oh, like this style of the clothing that you can go from business to party because people don't want to buy multiple of one things. That's another recession indicator. And just so many other like funny things I've been seeing about what is a recession indicator.
Yes.
And or even just like hairstylist things like people aren't getting their hair done as much, or like mousy blonde is in because it's people's natural hair color and things like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely like we notice a culture change when there's an influx of money and then when there's a scarcity mindset. And I feel like it's interesting to see how pop music reflects that and like how that's the role that pop music plays in our lives. Like
totally.
Pop gets so much backlash for being like what everyone listens to. But at the same time, it's like that's our like history of popular culture is the music that is on the radio that is coming out at these times. And so it's interesting to see how it's all reflected back, even the songs we're listening to.
Absolutely. You can definitely look at popular music from the last couple of decades and just like instantly see what were people valuing, were people frustrated about, or also just how were they dealing with it. Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely an indicator.
And we did talk about this in our latest newsletter. So that was like a little brief introduction to recession pop because both of us have mentioned we loved Miley Cyrus's latest single. How is it again? Like World.
Pretend It's Not the End of the World. End of the World by Miley Cyrus. Incredible
It's so
song.
good. And both of us feel like it's extremely underrated. I heard some people saying that they didn't think it was that great. And I was like, I loved that song. I thought it was fantastic.
I had it on repeat when it came out. And the whole lyrical concept is let's pretend it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Which is something we all feel right now.
And I thought it was a fun twist. There's so many songs that if the world was ending, you'd come over, right? Like things like love me like the world is going to end tomorrow. Totally. But she was the opposite where she's like, love me like we have forever. Like time is of no consequence. And it doesn't matter if the world's going to be set on fire tomorrow. Love me as if you're not worried about anything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
I
But
loved it. And I can't wait for her new album that comes out next month or the end of this month, I think, maybe.
I think really soon, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because she dropped another single recently too that
I think it
haven't
actually
had a
does come
chance.
out at the end of May. So a
Yeah.
couple weeks.
So that'll
Awesome.
be very exciting.
I
But
know.
yeah, that's what we get to talk about today. And I gotta love our pop culture fun topic discussions because these ones are much easier to research than like
I know. A
19th
lot
century Gothic literature. So, you know.
Totally. I'll quickly just define recession pop technically and also talk about where that term first came out. So, recession pop is, of course, an informally defined style of music that emerged during the Great Recession in the United States and remained popular until about the early 2010s. So, I'd say probably like 2007 to 2011, 12 is like really the recession pop pinnacle here.
Like the peak of our teenage years.
Exactly. I was like, and when I was in middle school is those years exactly. A lot of this is associated with dance pop, hyper pop. It's characterized by fast BPMs, which is just high tempo, high energy production, catchy melodies, lyrics centered around embracing youthfulness, freedom, constant partying in the midst of an economic recession. Really, honestly, just feel good music. Some of the more typical ones you'd think is Kesha and Lady Gaga, who are maybe credited for establishing this genre. Think about their songs Just Dance. And TikTok, which we already mentioned, where it's just dance. It'll be okay. I'm just going to party all night long. That's a lot of the messaging that's happening in these recession pop songs.
And I feel like that's very much so the state that they're in is there's too much going on in the world. Everyone's way too worried. Like,
totally.
It's supposed to be like a reprieve from that in some way.
Yeah. Exactly. The term recession pop actually first appeared in a 2009 Irish Independent article on the effects of an economic downturn heading in Ireland on popular music. It featured an interview with singer Lady Gaga, who agreed with the article's observations. Quote, "I think in a lot of ways, my arrival on the scene is good timing, which in a full depression right now, we could all use some time to smile." Exactly what you just talked about. Get through it. The term was again used in 2012 with the Pitchfork article highlighting various singers and producers whom left or dropped from their record labels, and this list deemed them as independent musicians who are set to enter the mainstream media. So it's kind of like interesting how like this term has been coined now in retrospect, but like in the moment it had popped up a little bit, but now that we're out of it and 10 years later is now when we're like, wait, we're also suddenly nostalgic for that kind of music.
No, I would agree.
Other notable recession pop songs, I Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas.
Tonight's gonna be
also those lyrics are crazy because at a certain point in that song they just start listing the days of the week.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday,
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's the verse. They just list the 7 days of the week.
There's even parts that I swear don't really make any sense.
Probably not. That's how I think a lot of Black Eyed Peas songs are.
Yeah.
I say that affectionately. That song in particular, I was like, is this the best song ever when I was in 6th grade?
And I remember like so many of these for class things too. We like learned the choreography for them. I went to a arts charter school. So they were like, oh, we're today for gym class, we're going to learn the single ladies dance. And we did. And then for a performance thing, we did like this whole choreography to the Black Eyed Peas. I Got a Feeling. So
that song was everywhere.
It really was. And it was so random. So yeah, I know every word to a lot of these songs from like strange little activities like that where we were doing choreography to recession pop songs.
And what is more nostalgic than that? I'm just looking up these lyrics of this song and it really is just, I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night. Basically 15 times. Tonight's the night. Let's live it up. I got my money. Let's spend it up. Get out and smash it. Oh my God. Jump off that sofa. Let's kick it off. I know that we'll have a ball if we get down and go out and just lose it all. I feel stressed out. I want to let go. Let's go way out, spaced out, and losing all control. You know?
So there you go. That's recession pop for you.
That's recession. What's more recession pop than that? And
get off the sofa, blow all your money in a night because that's how little you have.
Yeah, exactly. And then the bridge is just the days of the week. I like this because as someone who is a songwriter in Nashville and a lot of my time is spent in writers' rooms with people, I just love to think like, wow, what if I pitched that lyric in the room? No
Yeah.
one would let me get away with that, and they would be right to say, I think we can do better than that. But how big is that song, you
Yeah.
know? So it's just crazy how
Oh
sometimes that works
man.
out.
It also makes me think of, have you been seeing all the interviews of Benny Blanco, like talking through
Yes.
him
Oh
writing the
my
songs?
gosh. I
And like
love that.
he did that one Kesha song, I think, where he just
Yeah.
repeated DJ Turn It Up like
Up,
15
up, up,
million
up.
times. Yeah. And like
Because they
just,
didn't have a bridge and it had to be
yeah.
turned in a certain time period. So he just said, okay, there's the bridge.
And it
It's
ended up
crazy.
being like one of the most popular songs of that year. So yeah, I think there's something to recession pop where there isn't really meaning behind it. There's no
Yeah.
like deep lyrics. Like it's literally just supposed to be fun, carefree,
Escapism.
and
Totally.
yeah, the finest degree.
Absolutely. And of course, this rise of recession pop is argued to be the response of the music industry to the decreased state of general consumer spending brought by this great recession. Record labels translated parallelly to cable networks in this area, with music channels such as MTV branding this new sound directly to consumers inflected by these economic hardships. It gave rise to a new generation of performance that were very high energy compositions, but also really high energy showmanship, which I
Hmm.
think notably I think a lot of the stars that came out in that time are still active today. And while they
Hmm.
might not be per se like top songs in the country right now, they all still have a very dedicated fan base and are actively
Yeah.
doing it. And I just think that's like really interesting that a lot of those artists that emerged 10 years ago, how they still have so much staying power. And
Oh,
I
definitely.
I do feel like it's because so many of us were just so connected to the music and the stars that we
Hmm.
were listening to because of that uncertainty. And when that comes back around, what do we all do but hang on to nostalgia
Yeah,
with,
literally
you
though.
know, as if our life depends on it?
And I think like even artists that weren't particularly known for their recession pop also
Totally.
jumped in on this. I'm thinking of Taylor Swift's 22, Welcome to New York. Like a lot of these songs that were just like, let's go out and forget
Let's
everything for one
forget.
night. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Another example of some recession pop lyrics is Pitbull. There is the song called Time of Our Lives, whose first verse just came right out and said, I knew my rent was going to be late about a week ago. I worked my A off, but I still can't pay it though. But I got just enough to get off in this club, have me a good time before my time is up.
There
So,
you
what's the
go.
messaging? Life got you down, bills are coming, doesn't matter. If you can get to the club, just go have fun and party, because at the very least we can escape the bad feelings that we have.
Yes.
And so there's the history of recession pop for you.
A lot of people have been obviously talking about a revival or a comeback of recession pop in the
Mm-hmm.
2020s. And there's some controversy on whether or not this is actually happening or if people are just like really wanting it
Wanting
to.
it, yes.
Yeah. And they're making connections because a lot of the artists that are coming out now were obviously around the same age as us during that time period. So a lot of their inspiration is
Mm-hmm.
probably being drawn from those songs that were big. So you've got Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, and Charlie XCX that are being associated with this revival of Pink Pony Club, Hot to Go, Espresso, like songs that are just fun, don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have anything deep behind them. The whole like brat summer
Yep.
thing. And so that's the idea of this being brought back. But there has been some people saying that it's just a nostalgic myth, that it's something that we're hoping for. So this was from the
Mm.
Suffolk Journal, and it talked about how the don't care nature of the original recession pop music was made to be danced to and drown out struggles while the economy crumbled and people's future outlooks were turning grim. The words of B.O.B. and Haley
Ah,
Williams
Bob.
reminded us that we could all use a wish right now. Remember? Pretend that
Mm-hmm.
airplanes in the night skies are like
Like
shooting
shooting stars.
stars.
Oh, I could really use a wish right now.
The Black Eyed Peas reassured us that tonight's going to be a good night. Music of this time was relatable, wild, simple, and fun, not because artists intended to write the feel-good soundtrack to a generation's youth and struggle, but because it was music that needed to make it through. There's The phenomenon is punctuated by a far more sinister feeling now for Gen Z, nostalgia for another recession pop resurgence. There's a draw the music of the 2000s and 2010s that was the soundtrack of many current college students' childhoods, all in the framework of economic uncertainty. But the excitement of music returning from years of lackluster releases may be misguided. The rush to call the recent onslaught of pop music icons like Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, Charlie XCX, and Addison Rae, the recession pop comeback seems to be correlation, not necessarily the product of the cause. So it's interesting. It like brings on some stuff about how the Great Recession artistry raked in listens, acclaim, and brought fans to every artist discography for the next top 40 hit. It's like Kesha, Lady Gaga, Pitbull, like they all really benefited from this. The music industry in 2008 saw a 10.5% increase in units sold and a 27% increase in digital track sales, according to Forbes, which is insane for a time of recession for it to have been so beneficial. And I think it's going back to the same thing that like people notice in economies is that people will cut down on frivolous spending, but entertainment tends to be the one thing that people will continue to spend. Because you have to have something to distract you from the grind of everyday life. And so going to the movies, watching sports games, listening to music, or going to concerts, things like that tend to still happen, just in a little bit of a different way. So seeing an increase in units sold or digital track sales was an indicator that they were willing to spend a couple dollars on a digital track, like $10 on a CD, like something, even if they didn't have other money.
Totally. You know, I've seen people talking about that more and more lately, where it's like, in a way, the music industry is oddly recession proof because, just like you said, to still consume media and escape and the things you like, first off, now with Spotify, it's a one-time $12 a month that like most people will be like, no, I'd rather just pay this $12 to get access to all of my music. I'll pay, like you said, $1 for a song or $10 for a CD, which isn't really a thing anymore. I'm sure the concert and live entertainment industry, I know that's seeing effects of the recession already, just because people aren't willing to buy tickets that are too crazy expensive. But like at the end of the day, you're going to pay to stream your songs. And that's going to be a thing that maybe you won't give up. Like you'll give up other things before people are likely to give up access to all of their music, you know?
I think it even goes back to the whole idea, like the myth you hear of if you stopped drinking your morning Starbucks every single day, you could afford a house in 20 years. Totally. You know, like I think all of us are past the point of realizing that's not going to happen.
If I stopped going, like an extra $1,000 a year is not going to change my life, unfortunately.
But getting that extra cup of coffee every morning might be enough to make it so that I don't fall into a deep depression. You know what I mean? Like,
but like my little treats every weekend, perhaps that is something that brings joy to my life that's worth it.
Sadly, I feel like that is what they're indicating here, is that it's like maybe that's more of something that we are hoping happens. Be like, oh, bring us our silly little songs so we can feel some reprieve from the crushing economic crisis that's upon us. I think that we're more aware of the recession this time, and so there's probably a little bit of nostalgia for that carefree childhood of the music that we had while the world was crumbling around us.
Totally.
So very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's coming back?
I don't know. I actually just looked up Billboards, the top 10 songs in the country right now. And I was trying to decide if I felt like this group of songs matched it. And let me just give them to you and we can maybe judge that together. So we've got Luther with Kendrick Lamar and SZA, Ordinary by Alex Warren, Die with a Smile, Bruno Mars, which, you know.
That one feels pretty recession
thematically, pop. A bar song, Tipsy by Shabuzi, which that is just like a party song. Nokia by Drake. I have never heard that song to Drake. In my life.
Every time he's on the charts, I'm like, don't partake.
I do my part to not be aware of what Drake is doing.
Don't listen to Drake.
Pink Pony Club by Chappell Roan, which we talked about. Lose Control by Teddy Swims. Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. Anxiety by Doechii. And then a Morgan Wallen song, which that whole chart is all over the place, which is crazy.
That
I don't know, like
funny.
Looking at that group of songs and what potentially comes next, I think that the difference maybe now is I think what happened in the early, in the original with the recession pop is it happened maybe so organically where all of these songs that were coming out all just fit that so thematically. That's what people wanted to listen to, where I think maybe now it can be a little bit contrived.
Yeah.
Maybe with Brat, and I'm not saying Brat's contrived, but like it seems like her point in making that album was, let's go and make music that is just about this, like how we used to make music 12 years ago. You know what I mean? And I think it's more a nostalgic point that would have just like naturally coming and existing in that way. That doesn't necessarily mean it's like false and fake, because I think it is very real that like these artists who were listening to that music at the time, now they're making music, and so therefore they want to make the music that made them feel good. That doesn't make it not good or contrived. Like it's still valid. I just, when you look at the difference in the playlist and the songs, it's like obviously the songs from 2008 are a little bit more life is meaningless and who cares, you know?
No, I'm laughing so hard because I'm thinking about all of the art classes I took where we were like, okay, and this was modernism. And then next came postmodernism because it was a reaction to the modernism. You know, and so it's, oh, okay, if this isn't recession pop, then I guess it's like post-recession pop?
Yeah.
But not after the recession. Like,
it's like recession pop now that we're aware that recession pop is a thing.
Yes. Which is like, how do you explain that?
Self-aware.
And that's art history for you. It just doesn't make any sense.
I did like this quote. So there's a musicologist, Joe Bennett, and I guess he's a professor of professional music and songwriting, I think at Berkeley. And this quote is that recession pop is essentially a label that mashes up a style with a timeline. And also, quote, there's a certain maxim in the music community, which is all the best pop music in the world came out in the same year, and it's the year that you were 17.
Oh, interesting.
Being, regardless of who you are and what decade you were in, you're always going to think that the music that you listen to when you were a teenager is the best music. And that's always going to be the music that you go to. So it makes sense that people are going back to that time, especially because who's entering the workforce, who's entering adulthood right now? It's millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
And we were all teenagers during that time.
Yes.
And we are now having to grapple with growing up in this world where we don't know where our feet are going to land.
No, definitely not. No, I feel like that is very fitting. Something else that I brought up that I thought was really interesting, showing that same thing, is how like trends are also reflecting this. You have I Can Do It With a Broken Heart by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
How popular that song became, where it's okay, it's not as carefree, but it's a little bit more motivating. I Can Do It. Or even Anxiety by Doechii that you brought up. Like it's recognizing the emotion, but like pushing through it.
Yeah, taking it a step further.
And then you also have the 2024 viral TikTok, I'm Looking for a Man in Finance.
Oh, great point. I did not even think of that, but that is totally recession.
And how that became such a thing where these girls were talking about, okay, I'm looking for a man in finance. What was it? Blonde hair, blue eyes, 6'5" or something. Yeah. And how people feel about their financial standing and their internal turmoil versus what messages they're resonating with.
Totally.
This one, another thing they said, experts are calling this a vibe session, which I want to meet those experts who say that we're going through a silent depression instead of a recession. We're feeling very negative about the state of our own finances, but this music offers a glimmer of fun, which allows you to be a part of the trends regardless of how existential you're feeling.
Exactly. I did love this point where it's funny. I like found this article that was like, people are silly. We're like, why is recession pop a thing when there's actually no recession right now? This came out October of 2024, and it's crazy how much things can change in 6 months. Because then I also found an article that came out next month just from Time, which is maybe we need recession pop right now, where that was like, so it definitely seems like this is coming. So just crazy how it was being discussed a month before the election and how it's being discussed now. But
that's crazy.
A point that this last article made that I did love is it says, Perhaps it's clear to say that the term recession pop is much more about the listener than the artist, because there will always be party music that climbs the charts, but party music when times are tough just hits different, and perhaps listeners end up reading more into it because they're looking for something to make sense. Which
I
is,
love that.
yeah, exactly. I love that too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Another point that I thought was really cool too is it brought up the fact that during the 1980s, which was a period of high inflation and economic downturn, also very similar, is when house music and techno emerged. And like how much further back this can go from even the 2010s.
Yeah.
To like way earlier when things were still being difficult, and then they turn on the house music.
Exactly. Another example about this is, so like the Great Depression, that pretty much gave birth to blues and swing music. Disco music was right during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And then think about like hip hop music. And that is a reaction to Black Americans living on the margin society in disfranchisement. Like young people have always used music as a way to either like bring awareness to their reality or create a different world to step into outside of their reality. And I think it was like cool to read about how it's no, go back to the Great Depression. That's where the blues came from. That's where this, and then swing music and disco, like all of these genres of music were reactions to what was going around in the world at that time.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's cool. It just reminds me why I love art and music so much, and like the history that it really does create of the things that happen to humanity and like how we cope with it. You write down all the stuff that happens in the history books, but like art and music is how we made it through things in actuality. And it's cool to see people be a little bit more aware of that this time around, and almost like gearing up for it, where it's okay. We're ready. Like, where's the beat? Bring the music down that we need. I need to get through this. Yeah. And how much that will change. Like, I wonder what will be different, because I feel like a lot of these artists too are a lot more on social media. And like, how are they going to respond to this call for escapism without it coming across as like tone deaf? Because we talked a little bit, I think, about the Katy Perry space launch and how she was one of the queens of recession pop, and now everything she's doing is coming across very tone deaf, because she took how much was it? $1 billion trip to space.
Totally. And also with her song Woman's World that came out with Dr. Luke.
Yeah, which everyone was like,
sure, that was the sound of recession pop, and maybe in 2008 if that song came out it would have done wonders, but it doesn't seem like she's moved past it, which I think is a great point. And that's something that this Time article that I found brought up, which is maybe we need recession pop right now. It, like I said, it just came out a month ago and it's by it. And I really loved a couple things that they talked about here. So this quote says, Gen Zers and millennials, for all of our generational bickering, have much in common with these past generations and with each other. Both generations have come up against a challenging job market resulting from global crisis. For many older millennials, it was the '08 recession, and for Gen Z, the COVID-19 pandemic. Both events impacted their financial standings. Both are also battling negative wealth, a financial predicament where people's debts outweigh their assets, and both are doom spending to gain some sense of normalcy and control in an ever-changing and unstable world. It goes on to talk about, though, how like nostalgia, though, can be tricky because it's equal parts like happiness and gratitude for what was before, but also a loss and longing. And because of that, it can produce a lot of like micro trends. And if newer generations rely too heavily on the past, how does it move forward? But also at the same time, like so many artists are like letting nostalgia work for them. Anxiety, we've talked about that song by Doechii. Totally, like it interpolates a post-recession era pop track. Because it came out in 2011, I guess. Somebody that I used to know, which went viral because we are all so nostalgic for that song. But then it takes a new spin on it where it's like openly talking about her anxieties and her fears and trauma. And in response to that, I guess like she created a digital hub for fans to connect with mental health resources. Another example is Chappell Roan. A lot of her songs are being associated with recession pop, like mindless music just to have fun. She talks about how she just wants to make music that she can have fun singing with. Hot to Go, Pink Pony Club, a couple other songs on her albums are like that. But she gave a pretty bold statement at the Grammys and donated her own money to struggling artists and encouraged a lot of other people. I know Sabrina Carpenter did, Charlie XCX, and a lot of others like matched her donation. Eventually led for Universal Music Group to announce a partnership with the Music Health Alliance to launch the Music Industry Health Fund.
No, that's such a good point. I even think of another one, Olivia Rodrigo. Like some of her songs definitely fit in this category as well. And a lot of her proceeds from her concerts have been being donated to Planned Parenthoods in the local areas she's been going to.
Yeah.
Where, I think the difference is that like Katy Perry could release pop songs that would fit in the category, but because of the person that she's become with her wealth, we no longer affiliate ourselves with her. Yeah. And so it doesn't hit the same. Whereas Doechii, Chappell Roan, even Sabrina Carpenter, like if they're able to recognize the challenges that regular people are going through, then it feels a little bit more balanced.
Absolutely. And I love this quote that they used to finish this article. And it said, "That's the difference between the recession pop of yore and the kind of cultural shift we're seeing now. In lieu of empty disassociation, the pop era of today is using music to not just elevate the conditions that resulted from an ever unstable world, but also instill action while dancing to a catchy beat. I think that's desperately needed right now as we try to acknowledge our reality. We also need to dance and catch a vibe too." So I think that it's the balance where it's okay. We had the music of just completely empty. No one is like actually doing anything of substance with that per se. People were doing things, of course, I'm sure then. But now it's like, let's take that. Let's make that music that we're so nostalgic for, that we feel like we need. But also, let's not be a Katy Perry about this. Let's be mindful. Let's like try and make a difference, make people feel good, but then also try and enact real change in our communities at the same time.
Yeah, no, and it's, I think, a good point too, that to remember that some people will benefit economically from this downturn, which it does happen. There's some people that really end up benefiting from depressions and recessions in weird ways that like they aren't even asking for. It just ends up happening. And hopefully those people are the people that will try and make a difference rather than just scraping in the millions as we all suffer. But yeah, to end this, I did want to see what you think the ultimate recession pop song is, because I found a list of the top 10 and I want to know what you think.
Okay.
We've got Lady Gaga's Just Dance in 2008, Beyonce's Single Ladies in 2008, Kanye West Stronger 2007. It was on the list. Katy Perry, I Kissed a Girl 2008. Wow. Rihanna, Disturbia 2008.
Wow.
MGMT, Time to Pretend in 2007. Kesha's TikTok in 2009. Britney Spears' Womanizer in 2008. Lily Allen's The Fear in 2009. And Florence and the Machine, The Dog Days Are Over in 2008.
Wow. You pretty much just listed my top songs on my like original blue iPod shuffle. That's what was there. That's a great question.
Honestly, I feel like TikTok.
Yeah, Kesha, TikTok came out right in 2008.
It just feels accurate, and it reminds me of, I think there's a trend with like Brat Summer and everything coming back where it's like almost, what are they calling it? Where you're like gross, but on purpose. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Where she's like, I brush my teeth with a bottle of Jack.
Yep.
Wake up in the morning and just basically out the door.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't even wash off your makeup from the night before. I could never, but I think it's so opposite of the clean girl aesthetic that was really popular. And the clean girl aesthetic has been very associated with like consumerism. And you needed the 20-step skincare, and you've got to have these special headband to pull your hair back. And then you need the right brush to do your blowout. And heaven forbid you don't have a silk pillowcase. So, you know, like
totally
very, very associated with consumerism. Whereas I feel like Kesha's TikTok is the absolute antithesis of that, where it's who cares, don't have time, literally out the door in the same outfit I was wearing the night before, and
not
we're
back
about to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like such a great point. Like, it's just the antithesis. Recession pop is anti-clean girl.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Very anti-consumerism.
Yeah. The song that I think of the most that reminds me of recession pop, and maybe it's just for some reason the song that I have burned in my head from middle school though, is Give Me Everything by Pitbull.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I just looked it up and that album came out in 2011. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
those lyrics, that's Give Me Everything Tonight, for all we know, we might not have
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah. Let's do it
Let's do
tonight.
it tonight.
Yeah.
Don't care what they say. All our
Mm-hmm.
cares away. I don't remember all the lyrics there, but like
Yeah.
that song to
No,
me
that's
is
very
like
recession pop, I
peak
feel.
pop, I think.
Yeah. No, I would
Hmm.
agree. Definitely. Everyone needs to let us know what their favorite recession pop song is because I feel like that's really important and maybe should be like the new party icebreaker for the next however
Oh,
long.
what is your favorite recession pop song? So true. Would you
Be
say
like,
TikTok is like your personal favorite one? Or like what was the top
no.
song on your middle school iPod?
Oh, that's
Taylor Swift's.
I really did love Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine. I had that on
Mm-hmm.
repeat. So that was probably like the top out of the ones I actually listened
That
to
song is
the
so
most.
good.
It's so good. Yeah, and then obviously we all knew Just Dance, right? Because we had it on the
Totally.
game Just Dance, and you would,
Yeah. Or
yeah.
you remember the song Down by Jay Sean? Baby,
Oh,
are you
yeah.
down, down,
Down,
down,
down,
down,
down,
down,
down. Yeah.
down?
Oh my
I
gosh. Or
love
I'm
this.
remembering like Baby's Fire Burning on the dance floor.
Somebody called 911.
911.
Fire burning
Burning
on
on
the
the
dance
dance
floor.
floor. Oh my gosh.
Again, I love that song. In 8th grade, I was in a dance class in just dance 101, whatever. Our final was to get in a group and choreograph a dance. And we did our dance to Somebody Call 911.
I love
Fire
that.
burning on the dance floor. I can't remember even the
Oh
actual
my
name of that
gosh.
song,
I
but
don't
we all know
either.
what I'm talking about.
I don't even know who sang it. Like,
I don't either. Fire Burning by Sean Kingston,
oh my gosh, it was Sean
who did
Kingston.
Beautiful Girls. Oh my gosh.
I never would have put that together. That's so funny.
His first album came out in 2008.
There you go.
So, you know
Recession
what?
pop, guys. Fire burning
Yeah.
on the dance floor. Gotta
Yeah.
cool her down. She will burn the club to the ground on the
Yep, that song
dance
came out in
floor.
2009. Amazing. Oh.
We've got to hear the memories. So definitely
know.
comment on the YouTube channel or come find us on Instagram. Or I think Spotify has like a comment section too that we try to check. So
Totally. Yes.
please, like for
Comment
sure.
your
I
recession pop
have to
song.
know, you guys. This is
I'm about to just go edit this episode right now listening to these songs. And I'm very excited for my night, actually.
It'll set the mood for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I think, yeah, we can look forward to maybe a really great year of music because the economic people are saying that June is the time.
Listen, if there's, we have to look for the silver linings, right?
Oh yeah, I've got to look forward to something.
And let it be the pop music. I can't wait.
Yeah, I am thrilled to be hearing the music that'll come out of this and then seeing the art and the books that will come out of it as well. So long live the recession artwork.
Long live. But not long live the recession.
No, that can die.
Yeah, that can die.
If it wants to end before it even begins, that's cool too. Great. But
yes,
I think we're already there, sadly.
True. Well, anyways, thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of More Than a Muse podcast. We'll be back next Monday. Feel free to come say hi. Like Stani said, all the week, come let us know your favorite recession pop song. Leave us a review and we'll be back next Monday.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.